I sit inside Jonathan Mercer's office, surrounded by mahogany walls that carry a faint trace of lemon polish. My father's presence still lingers here, among the framed diplomas and the silver-edged family photographs that Mercer keeps arranged on the credenza behind his enormous desk. It has been one full week since we laid Adrian Prescott beneath a granite headstone that detailed his many accomplishments, but revealed nothing about who he truly was. 7 days of numbness, of neighbors arriving with casseroles, of Vivian accepting sympathy with graceful precision, while Serena carefully captured her grief for social media. Mercer adjusts the papers before him and clears his throat. As you know, Dr. Prescott's estate is quite extensive. The total valuation approaches $9.5 million, not including personal effects or real estate. My mother straightens in her chair, her pearl earrings catching the soft light. Her black Chanel dress clings perfectly to her frame, her sorrow styled like an accessory. Vivian, Mercer continues in that neutral tone of his, the one honed from delivering both fortune and ruin, as stipulated, you will receive the primary residence and the investment portfolio established in 1992. Serena, he says, turning toward my sister, the lakeside vacation home passes to you, along with the trust fund created on your 21st birthday. Serena's manicured hand tightens around mine, her polished nails pressing lightly into my skin, a gesture of solidarity meant for the attorney's benefit. Later, she will post a black-and-white photo titled Sisters Through Sorrow, something elegant and filtered for her followers. Camille, Mercer says at last, lifting his gaze from the papers. For a brief moment, something flickers in his eyes, hesitation, maybe even regret. Your father has left you the controlling interest in Prescott Medical Technologies, along with the majority of his liquid assets. My breath catches, and the room tilts slightly. However, he continues smoothly, there is one condition. Of course there is. Father never offered anything freely, not affection, not praise, and not even now. The inheritance is conditional upon verification of paternity through DNA testing. The words strike like slaps. My hands tremble against the leather armrests. My mouth dries instantly as humiliation spreads hot beneath my skin. Surely there must be some mistake, Vivian says, her voice coated with honeyed concern that never reaches her eyes. Serena's hand returns to mine in a shallow parody of comfort. Oh, poor Bella, she murmurs softly. Daddy always had that odd sense of humor. Mercer removes his glasses and wipes them with a monogrammed handkerchief. The directions are quite explicit. Miss Prescott must submit DNA verification from a certified laboratory. The results will be compared with family genetic markers already on record. Already on record? My voice sounds distant, as though it belongs to someone else. Your father provided his own sample before his passing, Mercer explains gently. He was, as always, very thorough. The memory rises without permission, my 10th birthday. Serena at the grand piano, her fingers gliding across the keys while father looked on with pride. Later that night, I handed him my straight-A report card. He barely glanced at it. Books are easy, Camille. Real achievement requires something special. After that, I pushed harder. Academic honors, scholarships, graduating summa cum laude, none of it ever measured up. He orchestrated this final insult with the same precision he applied to his surgeries. The question burns inside me, why? Was a lifetime of subtle rejection not enough? Did he need one last public denial to complete the performance? Part of me, the wounded daughter still chasing his approval, wants to refuse. To walk away and deny him even this final control. But another part, the archivist who devotes her life to preserving truth, cannot ignore what evidence might reveal. Evidence does not lie. People do. I would like to speak with Mr. Mercer privately, I say, forcing calm into my voice though it trembles at the edges. Serena lets out a delicate, practiced laugh that sparkles like fine crystal. Oh, Bella, Daddy always had his little jokes, she says. We'll handle this as a family. The word family sounds hollow when she says it, a title I've never truly been granted. Without the test, Mercer explains, his tone softening, the inheritance reverts to a secondary plan. There would be nominal donations to several medical charities, and the remainder would be divided between Mrs. Prescott and Serena. Vivian and Serena exchange a single glance, a silent conversation perfected over years of Sunday brunches and charity events I was either too busy or too unwanted to attend. I can already see them calculating, imagining vacations where Serena's curated sorrow will photograph beautifully. The legal position is clear, Mercer continues. Without verification, you forfeit your claim. The reality settles over me like cold weight. This is not merely about money. It's my father's final opportunity to reject me publicly, to validate a suspicion he hinted at my entire life, that I never belonged. Refusing would mean losing not just the inheritance, but also the truth behind this final cruelty. How long will the testing take? I ask, clinging to practical details to keep my composure. Roughly 2 weeks for results, Mercer replies. Perhaps less. Given the priority, I can request. Vivian brushes invisible lint from her sleeve. Jonathan, surely there's a way to expedite the process, she says smoothly. The foundation gala is coming soon, and the family must present a united image. Serena nods eagerly. I've already arranged for the villa renovations to start in 3 weeks. The contractor will need the deposit. Before Mercer can respond, the door opens. Helen Foster steps into the room, her simple blazer and neat haircut a stark contrast to my mother and sister's polished perfection. My colleague from the university archives raises an eyebrow as her eyes sweep the scene. I've been waiting outside for an hour, she says evenly, addressing me alone. You look like you need some air and perhaps coffee. A choice presents itself: remain in this room filled with staged sympathy and quiet calculation, or leave with the one person here who holds no interest in Prescott family politics. Helen doesn't care about villas or galas. She cares about truth, the same thing I've built my life on. I rise, smoothing the fabric of my skirt with hands that have finally stopped shaking. Mr. Mercer, I say, my voice firm now, I'll call tomorrow to arrange the testing. Helen steps between me and my family, a calm barrier of reason. Miss Prescott needs time to process this, she says. I'll drive her home. Serena opens her mouth to argue, but Vivian gently places a manicured hand on her daughter's arm, silencing her before a single word escapes. They will regroup, no doubt, perhaps over lunch at the country club where Vivian has held her membership for more than 30 years. As Helen guides me toward the door, Mercer's voice follows. Camille, for whatever it's worth, he says quietly, your father was complicated. I knew him for decades, and even I never fully understood what drove him. I pause with one hand resting on the doorframe. I want to know the truth, I tell him, my voice low but unwavering. Whatever it costs. 3 days after that humiliating meeting in Mercer's office, I am alone in the climate-controlled storage room at the university archives, arranging a new set of specimens when my phone buzzes. Helen looks up from a pile of Civil War letters, her brow furrowing. Everything all right? It's Serena, I reply, glancing at the message. She says they're on their way to my condo. Helen raises one eyebrow. Should I stay late? We could finish cataloging the Palmer collection. No reason for both of us to suffer. I slip the phone into my pocket. Thanks, but I'll manage. I need to face them sooner or later. When I pull into my building's lot, Vivian's silver Mercedes already sits neatly in the visitor space. Inside, I find them waiting, my mother perched rigidly on the edge of my sofa as though the fabric might somehow contaminate her Chanel suit, and Serena wandering the room, pretending to study my framed botanical prints. We let ourselves in, Serena says with a polite smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Mrs. Hensley from next door recognized Mother from the hospital charity auction last spring. Of course she did. Vivian's network stretches across Boston, cultivated meticulously for more than 30 years, a web of acquaintances who can serve as informants or allies whenever needed. I hang my coat without offering to take theirs. What brings you here? Vivian smooths invisible wrinkles from her skirt. Darling, we've been worried. This dreadful business with the will has upset us all. We've spoken with another attorney, Serena interjects, lowering herself gracefully into my reading chair, her posture picture perfect, as if posing for her followers. There are possible ways around that cruel stipulation. I remain standing. Father's attorney seemed very clear about the conditions. Vivian lets out a brittle laugh that sounds like ice cracking on a winter branch. Jonathan has always been inflexible about legal matters. Your father was the same, obsessed with paperwork, verification, documentation. Something in her tone sharpens my focus. What do you mean? She exhales softly, her fingertips brushing the strand of pearls at her throat. Your father had trust issues. Throughout our marriage, really. He questioned loyalties, demanded proof of commitments. This DNA nonsense is simply another reflection of that paranoia. Serena nods, adopting an expression of gentle understanding. It wasn't about you personally, Bella. Daddy did this with everyone. Everyone. I echo. Yes, Vivian continues. Even in business contracts, he inserted verification clauses. At the medical foundation, he required penalty provisions if board members missed meetings. My archivist mind begins cataloging these fragments, arranging them chronologically, searching for patterns. How long had he been like this? Vivian's eyes drift toward the window. From the very start. He even hired private investigators to follow me. Twice. My tone turned sharper. When? Once before we married, and again after Serena was born. Serena shifts uncomfortably, fidgeting with her diamond-studded Cartier watch that glitters in the afternoon sun. Mother always handled it gracefully, she says lightly. Unlike some of his colleagues' wives, who would have caused scenes. A picture begins forming in my mind. Adrian Prescott, the acclaimed surgeon, methodically recording suspicions, perceived betrayals, and every deviation from his expectations. His detachment from me suddenly feels less like personal rejection and more like a consistent pathology, systematic distrust applied to everyone around him. The Christmas when I was 12, I say slowly. When he gave everyone engraved watches, but handed me a book on Greek mythology, was that part of this pattern? Vivian waves a dismissive hand. Adrian had eccentric ideas about suitable gifts. The watches were for the hospital board. You're reading too much into the past. But I remember the inscription inside that book. To understand the present, study the past. At the time, I had seen it as encouragement for my love of history. Now it feels like a warning or a clue. His rare moments of kindness, I say, testing the idea forming in my mind. Were they genuine, or just another performance? Serena rolls her eyes. Bella, must you analyze every detail? We're trying to help you avoid public embarrassment. Her choice of word catches my attention. Public. Vivian meets my gaze evenly. Word travels quickly in Boston. If you proceed with that test, people will talk. Questions about our family will surface, ones that are best left unasked. Old memories slot together, half-heard arguments about loyalty, father's obsession with documentation, his careful scrutiny of Serena's grades while ignoring mine. His detailed journals, not just of surgeries, but of board meetings, family events, even daily weather. This test isn't about humiliating me, I say quietly, the realization crystallizing. It's about revealing something else entirely. Serena rises abruptly and moves toward the window. This delay is inconvenient for everyone, Camille. I have commitments. My influencer brand launches next month, and my share of the inheritance was already allocated for investments. The fear beneath her polished tone is unmistakable. Serena's carefully managed life runs on appearances, and appearances cost money. And your club membership renewal is due soon, isn't it, Mother? I ask, recalling the yearly drama surrounding that particular expense. Vivian stiffens slightly. My social obligations require certain contributions. The Duxbury Club has been a family tradition for generations. They aren't villains, I realize, just frightened. Their status, their comfort, even their identities depend on that inheritance. A delay threatens everything they've built. Perhaps we could make an arrangement, Serena suggests, her tone softening. Once the inheritance is finalized, we can clear up any misunderstandings. Misunderstandings? I repeat. For a moment, her composure slips. Mother always said Daddy was paranoid about family loyalty, especially after you were born. Vivian shoots her a sharp look. Serena, that's enough. Before I can press further, my phone vibrates, a message from Helen. Found something interesting in the hospital archives. Call me. I take a steady breath. I need you both to leave, I say, my tone clear and unshakable. I have an appointment. Serena starts to argue, but Vivian rises first, recognizing that my decision is final. We'll continue this discussion later, Camille, she says evenly. And remember, family matters should stay private. Once the door closes behind them, I call Helen. She answers almost immediately, her voice calm but energized. Family histories, she says, are what I do best. I need access to the medical school archives, I tell Helen. Specifically, anything related to visiting surgeons from the early 1990s. Already ahead of you, she replies briskly. Meet me in the archive room in 30 minutes. I end the call and immediately phone Mercer's office. His secretary transfers me without delay. Miss Prescott, Mercer says the moment he picks up, I was just about to contact you. What can I do for you? My father's instructions were very precise, I begin, but I need to understand where your loyalty lies in carrying them out. There's a pause, brief but telling. My loyalty, he says carefully, is to fulfilling Dr. Prescott's wishes in a fair and lawful manner, whatever that requires. Good, I reply, because I intend to approach this the same way I handle any archival investigation. We need verifiable evidence, not family mythology. I collect my coat and keys, my mind already aligning the steps ahead, my archival training, Helen's research expertise, and Mercer's legal access forming a single investigation. Together, they will uncover whatever truth my father concealed or couldn't bring himself to face while alive. As I lock my door behind me, a new realization settles in. I'm no longer afraid of what the DNA results might prove. For the first time, I'm afraid of what I'll do once I know the truth. Half an hour later, I walk through the university's Special Collections wing, running my fingertips lightly along the polished oak shelving. The Adrian Prescott Memorial Medical Collection had arrived just yesterday, 27 boxes of journals, photographs, and memorabilia chronicling my father's long surgical career. The bequest, Mercer had explained, was mandated in the will regardless of the DNA test outcome. My father's final attempt to immortalize himself, meticulously arranged months before his death. The thought should hurt. But after 2 weeks of restless nights and neatly catalogued suspicions, pain has given way to a cold, analytical curiosity. Box 14 needs your attention, Helen says, appearing beside me with a steaming mug of coffee. Several journals from the 1980s don't appear on the official inventory list. I take the cup, inhaling the comforting scent. Personal or professional? Personal, she replies quietly. Very personal. Her eyes meet mine. I started a preliminary review. There are entries referencing your mother and someone named Moreau. The name jolts something loose in my memory. A fragment of an argument, my father's raised voice echoing through the kitchen when I was 7 or 8. Moreau's fellowship ended 15 years ago, Vivian. 15 years. The memory sharpens as I follow Helen into the climate-controlled processing room. On the table, under the gentle glow of archival lighting, lies a leather-bound journal. My father's neat handwriting covers the pages, each stroke pressed deeply into the paper by the weight of his fountain pen. Page 37, Helen murmurs, stepping back to give me space. I pull on cotton gloves and carefully turn the pages. The entry is dated September 1991, 2 months before my birth. Vivian's behavior since Moreau's fellowship ended remains troubling. The timing cannot be a coincidence. 9 months of unexplained absences, emotional withdrawal, private phone calls, now pregnancy. I've checked the dates repeatedly. The child cannot be mine unless modern medicine is mistaken about gestation. My breath catches. The room seems suddenly too warm, the air too thin. There's more, Helen says gently, sliding a folder toward me. I cross-reference the hospital newsletters from 1990 to 1991. Dr. Etienne Moreau completed a visiting fellowship at Massachusetts General during that exact time. I flip through the photocopied pages until I find a grainy photograph, a tall man with dark, wavy hair standing beside my mother at a hospital fundraiser. Vivian looks radiant, laughing as she lightly touches his arm. The archives contain 27 photographs from that period, Helen continues. Your mother appears in 23. Dr. Moreau appears in 19. They're photographed together in 15. My mind shifts automatically into analytical mode, constructing a precise timeline. Moreau's fellowship began in January 1990. I was born in November 1991. The conclusion is mathematically inescapable. My conception aligns exactly with Moreau's stay in Boston. For the first time since the will reading, the balance of power tilts. My father's demand for testing wasn't a cruel attempt to disgrace me, it was his final effort to confirm a suspicion that had haunted him for decades. There's something else, Helen says after a pause. Something about Serena. She hands me another of my father's journals, this one dated 1987. I flip it open to a marked page. The calculations regarding Serena's birth in November 1987 raise additional questions. Moreau's initial 3-month consultation occurred between December 1986 and February 1987. The timing is questionable, though inconclusive. Vivian insists the pregnancy was a surprise, but a welcome one. Electric clarity floods through me. My father suspected that both Serena and I might be Moreau's children. Serena needs to see this, I say quietly, steady despite the tremor in my chest. Within the hour, I've assembled a meticulous evidence folder, photocopied journal pages, hospital photographs, and a chronological chart mapping Moreau's presence in Boston. My research training applied not to history this time, but to bloodlines. I text Serena, found critical documents about the will situation. University archives. 3 p.m. Her reply arrives almost instantly. Can't you just email them? I have a conference call with sponsors. They directly affect inheritance distribution. I type back. The bait works, as I knew it would. When Serena strides into the archives at 17 minutes past 3, she carries the faint scent of designer perfume and irritation. Her cream silk blouse and tailored slacks seem absurdly formal against the background of filing cabinets and acid-free boxes. I rescheduled an important call for this, she says, setting her handbag on the table. This had better be worth it. I gesture toward the chair across from mine. It will be. I've been researching our family history. She sighs dramatically. Camille, if this is about ancestry, we have people for that. I can give you Mother's genealogist, the one who traced us back to the Mayflower for her DR membership. This isn't about distant ancestors, I reply, sliding the folder across the table. It's about our father and a French surgeon named Dr. Etienne Moreau. Her hand hesitates above the folder, her eyes flickering with something recognition, maybe even dread. Who is Etienne Moreau? She asks, though her voice lacks conviction. You tell me, I answer, opening the file to the photograph of our mother and Moreau. Because father seemed deeply concerned about their relationship during the years we were both conceived. Serena's face strains of color as she flips through the pages. Her usual composure fractures, revealing raw disbelief. This is ridiculous, she mutters, but the tremor in her hands betrays her far more than her words ever could. Father was always paranoid about Mother's hospital fundraising, Serena says, her tone brittle. You know how jealous he could be. Was he paranoid? I counter, sliding the timeline across the table toward her. Or was he perceptive? Moreau was in Boston precisely 9 months before my birth and 9 months before yours. He completed his earlier consultation at Mass General. Serena's eyes snap to mine. What are you implying? I'm taking the DNA test tomorrow, I say evenly. Are you ready to face what it might reveal about both of us? The balance between us shifts in an instant. For 31 years, Serena has been the golden child, the unquestioned heiress to the Prescott name. Now she looks at me with the dawning awareness of what these documents might mean. You're enjoying this, she whispers. No, I answer truthfully. I'm simply revealing the truth. For once, I'm not the one being manipulated. Serena rises abruptly, her hands trembling as she clutches her purse. Mother needs to know about this. I'm sure she already does, I reply quietly. When she's gone, Helen returns, carrying a small stack of glossy prints. These came from a separate donation by the Hospital Historical Society, she explains. They're from social events your father didn't attend, but your mother and Dr. Moreau did. The photographs show Vivian and Moreau at art gallery openings, charity galas, even a weekend medical retreat in Vermont. Their posture and expressions speak of closeness, of something private and unspoken. My phone rings. Mercer's name flashes on the screen. "Camille," he says without introduction, "I've spoken with several of your father's former colleagues regarding the estate." Many remember Dr. Moreau vividly. I wait, pulse quickening. One comment stood out, Mercer continues. Dr. Whitaker mentioned that Moreau bore a striking resemblance to Serena. He said he'd always found it remarkable that she had Moreau's eyes and chin rather than your father's features. The final piece locks into place. My father's suspicion had not been baseless. He'd possessed evidence strong enough to haunt him for decades. Thank you, I tell Mercer, my thoughts spinning. That's extremely helpful. When I hang up, I stare down at the photographs and journal pages spread before me. For the first time, I see my father's distance for what it was, not personal rejection, but a pattern of systematic doubt directed at both his daughters. The realization brings no comfort, only calculation. The question isn't whether to expose the truth, but how. Should I confront Vivian now or gather irrefutable proof first? I glance at Helen, who watches me with steady concern. What would you do? I ask. Document everything, she replies without hesitation. Then decide once you have complete knowledge. I nod. My archivist's discipline overtakes emotion. The truth has waited decades. It can wait a little longer until I have undeniable proof. Tomorrow's DNA test will provide that final confirmation. Only then will I decide how to use it. The next morning, I step into the sterile reception area of Boston Genetic Partners, where the scent of antiseptic and lemon cleanser replaces the faint leather aroma of Mercer's office. The facility operates with clinical precision, online check-ins, electronic signatures, and a receptionist who processes me wordlessly. Camille Prescott, she confirms, scanning my ID. Sample collection room 3, down the hall to your right. The procedure takes less than 5 minutes, a simple cheek swab sealed into a barcoded vial, reducing my identity to a string of digits. The technician, a young man with kind eyes above his mask, tries to make conversation. First time doing genetic testing? I nod. A lot of people do this for ancestry research, he adds lightly. This isn't about finding distant relatives, I reply. It's about confirming the ones I already have. Back in my apartment, I spread a fresh sheet of paper across the dining table and begin a new timeline. Dates from hospital newsletters, social registers, and conference programs fall into place, forming a stark pattern. Wearing cotton gloves, I mark each entry with the precision I use for archival preservation. December 1986, Dr. Etienne Moreau begins a surgical fellowship at Massachusetts General Hospital. January 1987, hospital charity gala photographs show Vivian and Moreau seated together, Adrian absent, cited for emergency surgery. February 1987, 3 Society page mentions of Vivian attending events where Moreau was present. Adrian appears in only one. November 1987, Serena born at Massachusetts General. December 1987, Dr. Moreau returns to Paris. Serena had always said father's obsession with precision made him a brilliant surgeon, but a distant parent. Now I suspect that same precision served another purpose, documenting suspicions while preserving the facade of a perfect marriage. The apartment phone rings, snapping me from my work. Camille? It's Helen. Any progress with the timeline? I've established when Moreau was in Boston, I say, my voice detached and professional. The dates align exactly with Serena's conception. What's your next step? She asks. I need staff directories from the hospitals, confirmation that they worked together, not just appeared at the same events. I can handle that, Helen replies. The university archives have reciprocal access to the medical school library. Perfect. I jot the note on my expanding task list. Mercer's managing the legal aspects in case Serena challenges the results. You mean when she does, Helen corrects gently. Exactly, I say, smiling faintly. Either way, I'll be ready. After ending the call, I return to the timeline, attaching photographs clipped from microfilm copies of old hospital bulletins. In one, Vivian laughs at something Moreau says, her hand resting lightly on his sleeve, while Adrian stands a few feet away speaking to an administrator. I start mapping connections, archivists from 3 Boston universities, Mercer's legal associates with estate expertise, and 2 genealogists who owe me favors. This isn't confrontation yet. It's preparation, careful documentation of every relevant fact before anyone can refute what the DNA test will confirm. At 7 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rings. Helen stands outside holding a stack of folders and a paper bag that smells of curry and basil. Thai food and hospital staff directories, she announces with a grin. I figured you hadn't eaten. We spread the folders across my living room floor, transforming the space into an improvised war room, a grid of evidence that would impress even the most meticulous detective. Look at this, Helen says, pointing to a staff photograph dated 1990. Vivian served on the hospital's auxiliary board that same year Moreau arrived. They would have worked together on fundraising events, I confirm, adding another connecting line to my growing diagram. 3 days later, a new email alert flashes across my phone screen, sample status update from Boston Genetic Partners. I open it, expecting a routine confirmation that processing had begun. Instead, the message reads, due to inconclusive preliminary results, we require an additional sample for verification. Please contact our office to schedule a second collection appointment. My stomach tightens. I call the testing facility immediately. This is highly unusual, the technician admits after checking my file. Occasionally contamination occurs, but what? I demand. Well, he continues carefully, sometimes, when paternity is under review, we encounter irregular genetic markers that require extra testing. A sharp wave of fear floods through me. Did Adrian somehow tamper with the process? Could he have arranged something false markers, planted confusion, to prolong the humiliation even after his death? I close my eyes, my breathing uneven. This delay gives Vivian and Serena precious time to craft a counter-strategy, an emotional distress claim, perhaps, or an accusation of coercion. When I open my eyes again, the fear is gone, replaced by cold resolve. I schedule the second appointment for the following morning. Even from the grave, I whisper into the empty apartment, he's still making me prove myself. But this time, I'll be ready for any outcome. I return to the wall of evidence dominating my living room and add a new section labeled contingencies. What if both Serena and I share Moreau as our father? What if neither of us is Adrian's biological child? What if the inconclusive results themselves reveal something Adrian discovered but never disclosed? The answers won't come from speculation, only from data, documents, photographs, timelines, and finally, DNA. I press my fingers lightly to a framed photograph of Adrian receiving a medical award, his expression stern even in victory. I'll find your truth, I whisper. Whatever it is. The next morning, the second DNA test proceeds far more smoothly than the first. There are no curious questions, no small-talk attempts, just a silent technician, a new vial, and a clean process. This time, I've chosen a different laboratory, more reputable, more expensive, known for precision even under legal scrutiny. Results are typically available within 10 business days, the technician tells me as she applies a cotton pad to the puncture in my arm. I'll need them sooner, I reply, sliding a folded check across the counter. Premium processing. Back at my condo, I convert my dining table once again into a command center. Helen arrives carrying 2 mugs of coffee from the museum cafe we'd once visited during a conference. The table is already buried beneath evidence, fellowship announcements, hospital newsletters, and clipped society columns. This is quite the dossier, Helen says, scanning the meticulous arrangement. You've been thorough. Archivists are nothing if not methodical, I answer, tapping a yellowed issue of the Boston Medical Quarterly from winter 1986. See here, Moreau's fellowship began that year, and he left in December of the next. His specialization in cardiothoracic surgery matches father's field exactly. Helen lifts a society page photograph showing Vivian laughing beside a tall man with Serena's unmistakable cheekbones. The resemblance is uncanny. Exactly, I say quietly. Father must have seen it too. I place Serena's birth certificate beside the photo. The dates align flawlessly. Moreau was in Boston precisely 9 months before her birth. The doorbell rings, cutting through our analysis. Mercer stands in the hallway, briefcase in hand, his face grave. I've prepared the legal framework for every potential scenario, he says, setting the briefcase on my kitchen table. He opens it to reveal folders organized by color-coded tabs. Yellow if both Serena and I are Adrian's biological daughters, green if neither of us is, blue if only one of us is related. You think of everything, I say. Your father trained me to, Mercer replies. His fingers rest briefly on the blue folder. Camille, you must understand the implications. If Serena contests the results, she will, I interrupt. She's already framing herself online as the wounded daughter, poor Serena, tormented by her father's cruel will. Then we need to prepare for a lengthy fight, Mercer says. The more evidence we gather now, the stronger your position will be. After he leaves, I sort the growing collection into 3 expandable folders: timeline, photographic evidence, and legal documentation. No emotional notes, no interpretation, only verifiable facts, arranged with the precision that defines my professional life. This is no longer about resentment. It's about uncovering the truth that shaped our family for decades while remaining buried beneath silence. For days later, my laptop chimes, subject line, test results available. My hand hovers over the trackpad, suddenly heavy. What if I'm not his daughter either? What if this evidence I've built dismantles not only Serena's claim but my own? For all my preparation and research, I've never truly faced the most terrifying possibility, that proving Serena isn't Adrian's child might also prove that I'm not. That I've been compiling the documentation of my own disinheritance. Would the truth heal me or destroy me? Is this the outcome my father intended all along? My phone rings, jolting me from the thought. Mercer's name flashes on the screen. Serena has requested an emergency meeting, he says immediately. She claims to have new information regarding the will. What kind of information? She wouldn't elaborate, only insisted on meeting tomorrow morning. His tone drops lower. Camille, have you opened your results yet? I was just about to, I tell him, staring at the unopened message. Whatever they show, we must be ready before that meeting, he says. After the call ends, I take a slow breath and click open the email. The laboratory's letterhead fills the screen, followed by a page of clinical text outlining methodology, verification, and controls, the language of science poised to redefine my entire life. I scroll past the dense scientific jargon until my eyes reach the final section, probability of paternity, 99.99%. Relief floods through me, enough to make my knees briefly weaken. The confirmation glows on the screen, clear and clinical. I am Adrian Prescott's biological daughter. The validation I hadn't admitted I needed is laid out in black and white. But then I notice a second attachment, labeled Supplemental Report. Curious, I open it, and my pulse quickens as I scan the first few lines. The lab has detected something unexpected in the genetic markers they analyzed. I grab my phone and text Helen, prepare 3 folders for tomorrow's meeting, blue ones, clearly labeled. Then I download every report, saving each file with calm, deliberate precision. No shaking hands, no racing heart, only the steady focus of someone who finally holds enough evidence to uncover what others tried to keep buried. Tomorrow, at Mercer's office, the truth will surface, all of it. That night, I find myself once again scrolling through Serena's Instagram feed, watching her carefully staged character assassination unfold in real time. Her newest post shows her at our father's gravesite, a black manicure resting artfully against polished granite. The caption reads, "When family betrayal cuts deeper than grief. Some secrets were never meant to be uncovered." Hashtag family betrayal, hashtag truth hurts, hashtag healing journey. The comments overflow with sympathy. Stay strong, V, sending prayers. You deserve peace. Serena has constructed her image with surgical precision, the grieving daughter, now burdened by mysterious, additional trauma. My phone vibrates with a new message from Helen, Boston Globe Society page just called the archive asking about you. Reporter named Laura Kendall. My stomach knots. Serena has escalated beyond social media. The same society columnists our mother spent decades cultivating now serve as her weapon of choice. I pull up the reporter's recent articles, charity galas, museum openings, the occasional tasteful scandal. The Prescott family's unraveling would make perfect weekend reading. The phone rings again, Vivian. Camille. Her voice trembles between anger and desperation. Whatever you think you've discovered, you'll destroy this family if you reveal it. I stand at the kitchen window, watching rain streak down the glass. I'm not the one who contacted the Globe, Mother. Serena is protecting herself. Can you blame her? Vivian's tone sharpens. You've been rummaging through Adrian's papers like a detective, making wild accusations. I haven't accused anyone of anything, I answer evenly. I simply took the DNA test father required in his will. These tests are often wrong, she insists. Serena spoke with Dr. Kaplan at Memorial. He says false results happen all the time. Of course, Serena would consult her network of doctors and wellness sponsors. Her entire influencer brand leans on curated medical credibility. The results aren't wrong, Mother. A silence stretches across the line. When she finally speaks again, her voice has that brittle edge it takes when she's losing control. Serena plans to contest the will, no matter what your test says. Her lawyer claims it could take years. Is that what you want? To drag our family through court? To have strangers dissect our private lives? The threat lands exactly as intended. My career, built on discretion, on respect for historical integrity, could not survive public scandal. Think about what Adrian would have wanted, Vivian presses on. He valued the family name above everything. That's where she's wrong. He valued truth above all else, even when it hurt. I can still hear his words from my college graduation. History isn't what people wish had happened, Camille. It's what actually occurred, inconvenient or not. I'll see you tomorrow at Mercer's office, I say, ending the call before she can continue. Moments later, another notification lights up my screen. Serena again, this time a black and white portrait of herself gazing mournfully into the camera, with artful tear tracks glistening on her cheeks. The caption reads, "When psychological abuse continues even after death. Some wills are weapons." #toxic family, #healing, #narcissistic abuse, #my truth journey. She's not grieving, she's staging. Turning our father's final request into a public performance about trauma and control. The comments erupt with outrage on her behalf. No one should use a will to hurt their children. Stay strong, beautiful soul. A knock at my door breaks the trance. Helen stands there, holding a bag of Thai food, and behind her, Jonathan Mercer, rainwater glistening on his overcoat. I brought reinforcements, Helen says. Apologies for the intrusion, Mercer adds, stepping inside. Serena's attorney just informed me she's filing preliminary objections to the will. We clear the dining table, my makeshift war room, as Mercer opens his briefcase. He pulls out a stack of legal documents thick with color-coded tabs. They're challenging the validity of the DNA clause, he explains, claiming Adrian wasn't of sound mind when he added it. They've already found 2 colleagues willing to testify that he grew paranoid near the end. That's absurd, I say. He was still operating surgeries 3 weeks before his death. Mercer nods grimly. I agree. But they're building a record, delaying, complicating. It's a standard tactic. Helen spreads our compiled evidence across the table, hospital newsletters showing Vivian and Morrow at events, society photos, the DNA reports. We need to present this as a unified case, she says. No more slow reveals. Mercer studies our materials carefully. This is remarkably thorough, Camille. You've documented everything with extraordinary precision. I'm an archivist, I remind him. Documentation is what I do. My phone lights up again, Vivian's name. I ignore the call, but a text follows seconds later. Serena says she'll drop her case if you agree to a 50-50 split. Please be reasonable. I show the message to Mercer. That's interesting, he says. She's negotiating, meaning she knows her position is weak. She's frightened, Helen observes. The DNA results must have confirmed what she feared. Mercer opens another folder from his briefcase. I obtained this today, complete reports from both testing companies, including the supplemental analysis. I skim the documents, stopping at a highlighted section. Subjects share maternal DNA markers only. No paternal markers in common. The words sink in slowly. Serena and I have different fathers. There's more, Mercer says quietly. Serena received a preliminary report 3 days ago. She's known since then. The realization hits like a blow to the chest. While Serena was posting about family betrayal and psychological abuse, she already knew the truth. Her grief posts weren't reactions, they were preemptive strategy. She's controlling the narrative, Helen murmurs, her voice low but steady. If she frames herself as the victim of Adrian's cruelty, she keeps public sympathy even when the real truth comes out. I flip through the supplemental report slowly, absorbing the technical data that confirm what Adrian must have suspected for decades. I am his biological daughter. Serena is not. I'll need all of this prepared for tomorrow, I say, my professional instinct taking over where emotion refuses to go. Everything arranged chronologically, with the most critical sections highlighted. Helen places a steadying hand on my shoulder. I'll stay and help. We'll make duplicates of everything. Mercer rises from his chair. Camille, are you absolutely sure you want to move forward with a full disclosure? Serena has made it clear she intends to fight publicly. I picture Serena's carefully orchestrated Instagram posts, the society columnist already sharpening her pen, and Vivian's desperate attempts to preserve her social standing. For 31 years, I've lived beneath their polished facade, a family image manicured to perfection. I'm not coming to argue, I tell Mercer. I'm coming with evidence that cannot be disputed. After he leaves, Helen and I work late into the night, organizing files, color-coding evidence, highlighting key passages. We create a timeline tracing Vivian's relationship with Dr. Etienne Moreau against the months leading to Serena's birth. Each entry aligns with unnerving precision, more like verified history than whispered family lore. You know what bothers me most? I say as we assemble the final folder. It's not that Serena isn't Adrian's daughter. It's that they knew, or at least suspected, all along. Every time they made me feel like I didn't belong, they were projecting their own guilt. Helen pauses her labeling. Tomorrow, you reclaim your story, the real one, not the version they've told. I slide the final document, the DNA comparison showing Serena and I share only our mother's markers, into its folder. Tomorrow, the truth my father orchestrated from beyond the grave will finally surface, rewriting the family history Vivian and Serena have curated for decades. Outside, rain taps rhythmically against the window pane as I prepare for the confrontation that will either destroy what's left of my family or, at last, make it honest. The next morning, I arrive at Mercer's office 30 minutes early. My leather portfolio rests on the passenger seat beside me, each document perfectly arranged. The morning sunlight reflects off the brass building numbers as I check my reflection in the window, calm expression, no trace of fatigue, only resolve in the eyes Adrian once called too observant for their own good. Helen meets me at the entrance, her practical navy cardigan a sharp contrast to the couture I know Vivian and Serena will wear. Ready? She asks, clutching a stack of authenticated hospital newsletters. As ready as I'll ever be, I reply, smoothing my charcoal gray skirt. The weight of the evidence in my tote feels like gravity itself. Thank you for being here. Mercer's receptionist leads us not to his office, but to the larger conference room, a formal, sterile space built for negotiations, not revelations. The long mahogany table gleams under recessed lighting, each seat laid with water glasses and legal pads as though for a board meeting. Miss Prescott, Mercer says, rising to shake my hand. I've prepared everything as you requested. Vivian and Serena arrive 10 minutes later, moving with choreographed grace, a mother-daughter performance honed by years of public appearances. Vivian wears black Armani, her pearl earrings catching the light. Serena has chosen cream linen accented with gold jewelry, the portrait of wounded elegance, ready for her inevitable online audience. Their polished smiles falter when they notice Helen arranging files at the far end of the table. I wasn't aware this would be a group meeting, Vivian says, voice warm but edged with disapproval. Miss Prescott requested space for supporting documentation. Mercer replies evenly, gesturing toward the chairs. Once everyone is seated, I distribute the folders, thick manila envelopes labeled with archival precision. My movements are steady, deliberate. What is all this? Serena asks, hesitating to touch hers. Evidence, I answer simply. Everything verified, dated, and authenticated. Vivian opens her folder first. She flips through the pages with her usual composure until she reaches the highlighted section of the DNA report. Her fingers go still. Watching her, Serena finally opens her own. The color drains from her face as she reads the line marked in yellow, maternal match only. These tests are often unreliable, Vivian says sharply, her voice rising. We should pursue additional analysis. Jonathan, you understand the importance of confirmation in legal matters. I take another folder from my tote. I expected that response, I say evenly. These are the results from a second laboratory, same outcome. Mercer clears his throat. I've reviewed both reports. They appear scientifically sound and fully admissible in court. Serena snaps her folder shut, the sound echoing in the quiet room. This is absurd. A laboratory error doesn't erase 34 years of family history. It isn't just the DNA, I reply, opening my portfolio. Helen and I compiled a complete timeline. Helen slides the first document forward, a hospital staff directory from 1986 to 1987. Dr. Etienne Moreau, she reads, served as visiting cardiovascular surgeon at Boston Memorial Hospital from December 1986 through December 1987. I point to the highlighted line. Serena was born in November 1987, exactly 9 months after the hospital gala that February. Vivian's hand trembles slightly as she reaches for her glass of water. The DNA confirms that Serena and I share maternal DNA only, I continue. Different fathers. I am Adrian Prescott's biological daughter. Serena is not. Helen sets a yellowed hospital newsletter on the table. On the front page, Vivian laughs beside a tall man with Serena's distinct chin dimple. In the background, Adrian watches from a distance. December 17, 1986, Helen notes. The caption identifies Dr. Moreau and Mrs. Prescott as co-chairs of the holiday fundraising committee. Serena's composure fractures. You've been planning this humiliation from the start, she snaps. Just like Adrian. I only wanted the truth, I reply calmly. Father did too, apparently, he found it. Vivian spreads her manicured hands flat on the table, as though bracing herself. Adrian and I were having problems, she says softly. He was never home. The practice consumed him. Mother, don't, Serena warns, voice breaking. Etienne was kind when Adrian was cold, Vivian continues, words spilling out after years of silence. It was brief, just a few months before he returned to France. Mercer clears his throat again, visibly uncomfortable. The legal implications are straightforward. The will stipulates inheritance only for biological descendants of Adrian Prescott. Across the room, Mercer's assistant glances up from her notes, unable to mask her reaction. Even the second assistant near the door looks stunned. Serena's hands shake as she presses them to her lap, mascara beginning to streak down her cheeks. This can't be real, she whispers. My whole life has been a lie. I didn't create this, I tell her quietly. I only uncovered what was hidden. Vivian reaches across the table, grasping her daughter's hand. Adrian suspected, but he never confirmed. He loved you, Serena, in his own way. Not enough to leave me his company, Serena says bitterly. Not enough to treat me as his own once I stopped being perfect. The weight of her words settles over the room. Adrian's coldness, his distance, his silent calculation, all of it finally making sense. Mercer closes the folder in front of him and speaks with finality. According to the terms of the will, Camille Prescott is the sole heir to Prescott Medical Technologies and to the designated liquid assets. Serena pushes her chair back, tears streaking down her face, her flawless image collapsing under the force of truth. So that's it? Serena's voice trembles. 35 years as Adrian Prescott's daughter erased by a DNA test? The victory I thought I wanted feels hollow as I watch her world collapse, not from my doing, but from choices made long before either of us were born. It doesn't have to end like this, I say quietly, surprising even myself. The will dictates what I inherit, not what I do with it afterward. Mercer looks up sharply. Camille, I'd like to establish a trust for Serena, I continue. There's no legal obligation, but there is a moral one. We're still family, at least half-sisters by blood. Serena stares at me, her expression torn between disbelief and fragile hope. Jonathan, could you draft a modified agreement? I ask. I'll retain controlling interest in Prescott Medical Technologies, but I want provisions for both Serena and Vivian. Mercer nods, his professionalism returning. I can prepare the necessary paperwork. Vivian's perfect posture collapses slightly as she sinks back in her chair. Why would you do this, Camille? After everything. I gather the DNA reports, slipping them carefully into my folder. Because Adrian Prescott's final lesson wasn't about DNA or inheritance, I say. It was about the difference between family bound by law and family chosen through compassion. Closing the portfolio, I add softly, I'm choosing to be better than his example. Serena wipes her eyes with trembling fingers. I don't understand you, Bella. For the first time, I see my sister clearly, not the golden child, not the influencer, but a woman who's been wounded by the same manipulative legacy that shaped me. You don't need to understand, I tell her gently. Just know that some bonds go deeper than genetics or legal documents. Mercer begins outlining terms for the new arrangement while Helen quietly gathers the hospital newsletters and photographs, the evidence now obsolete, replaced by truth. The oppressive weight of Adrian's posthumous game lifts from my shoulders. In his attempt to control us from beyond the grave, he gave me something unexpected, the freedom to define family on my own terms. A year after the revelation, I stand inside what used to be my father's office at Prescott Medical Technologies. The mahogany desk, smaller than Mercer's, but equally commanding, now holds my papers instead of Adrian's. Through the wide windows, Boston stretches out, the common glowing with autumn reds and golds. Miss Prescott, my assistant calls softly. The board is waiting in the conference room. A year ago, those same executives barely acknowledged me at charity galas. Now they seek my approval on every quarterly report. The irony doesn't escape me. Tell them I'll be 5 minutes, I say. I close the folder containing Serena's latest email, brief, professional, but free of the manipulation I used to dread. She left Boston 3 weeks after the truth came out. Her Instagram went silent, then returned to life with California sunsets and ocean views, no family photos, no mention of the Prescott legacy. Just a woman quietly rebuilding herself 3,000 miles away. Vivian sold the family estate within 2 weeks, moving into a Beacon Hill condo small enough to fit inside the old house's foyer. Our weekly lunches remain awkward, filled with surface-level chatter and tentative attempts at connection. Yesterday, she mentioned Etienne's name for the first time calmly. That's progress, I suppose. Need help sorting those? Helen asks from the doorway, nodding toward the banker's box I've been avoiding. What would the archivists say if they knew I was procrastinating? I manage a tired smile. They'd say personal archives are the hardest to catalog objectively, she replies, pulling up a chair. Together, we sift through what remains of Adrian's private life. Conference badges, annotated journal articles, family photographs. Helen pauses, holding a worn folder marked Family Records Confidential. Camille, she says softly, look at this. Inside are decades-old medical files, genetic screenings, predating modern tests by years. He knew, I whisper. He confirmed it long ago. And he still kept you both close, Helen says. That counts for something, doesn't it? The realization settles over me slowly. I spent years chasing validation from a man who already knew the truth. The bitterness that rises in my throat fades almost immediately, replaced by something quieter, relief. He could have spared us the drama, I murmur. Or maybe this was his way of forcing honesty into the open, Helen suggests. You, of all people, know how truth eventually surfaces, archives always do. 6 months later, I stand before the Prescott Medical Technologies executive team, presenting acquisition projections with a calm confidence I couldn't have imagined before. My father's awards, once displayed like relics of legacy, now hang in the medical school lobby, donated with Vivian's blessing. I kept only one photograph, Adrian holding me as a baby, his expression unreadable but his hold protective. The company has thrived under my leadership, stock prices rising, innovation returning, the board listening. 2 members resigned early in protest, but the rest recognized what Adrian must have known all along. I am his daughter in every way that matters. My phone buzzes with a message from Serena. Call when you have time. No rush. Our relationship now exists through brief calls and occasional emails. The pretense is gone, replaced by something uncertain but sincere. Last month, she asked about our childhood summers, questioning whether her memories were real or edited to fit a lie. Vivian has grown unexpectedly open during our dinners. She speaks of Adrian's coldness, of Etienne's warmth. He noticed me, she said once, twisting her napkin. When Adrian couldn't see anything beyond his work. It wasn't just physical. He made me feel heard. Last quarter, I established the Moreau Medical Scholarship for French exchange students, a quiet acknowledgement of complicated truths. When the announcement went public, Serena called. Her voice trembled. Thank you, she said softly, for not erasing him. 2 years after Adrian's death, I stand alone at his grave. Early morning mist drifts across the headstones, the air carrying the faint perfume of white lilies. You thought this would destroy us, I say quietly, placing the flowers against the granite. But it forced us to rebuild something real. Next week, the Prescott Family Foundation launches its mission to support children separated from biological parents. Vivian will serve as honorary chair, her own idea. Serena contributed to the website's design from Los Angeles. Neither relationship is perfect, but the foundation gives us neutral ground, a way to redefine family not as bloodline, but as choice. I rehearse my opening lines for the launch event. Family is more than biology. It's truth, even when painful. It's choosing connection when deception would be easier. A soft wind stirs the trees, scattering golden leaves across the cemetery. I trace the engraved letters of my father's name, feeling neither the fury that once consumed me nor the triumph that followed. Only gratitude. You gave me something I never expected, I whisper. Freedom and the chance to build an honest life. As I walk back to my car, I understand what I've truly inherited. It wasn't the company or the wealth. It was the truth, the one gift powerful enough to set me free.